This is Al Green, the congressman from Texas's 9th District. On March 4th, during Trump's address to a joint session of Congress, Congressman Green decided to cause a scene.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Now, anyone watching Trump's address from home had no idea what the congressman was yelling, but great protest, Al. You saved democracy or something.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican.
So Green yelled at Trump 3 times before Speaker Johnson gave any kind of warning.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions.
But Congressman Green stood his ground and kept going because not all superheroes wear capes.
That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Bye, Felicia.
I was making it clear to the president that he has no mandate to cut Medicaid. I have people who are very fearful. These are poor people, and they have only Medicaid in their lives when it comes to their health care. And I want him to know that his budget calls for deep cuts in Medicaid.
However, Trump and the Republicans have stated over and over again that they aren't going to touch Medicaid benefits, let alone Medicare and Social Security.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question.
President Trump has been unequivocally clear on this. He is going to protect Social Security and Medicare benefits and Medicaid for hardworking Americans who paid into these entitlement programs.
There are some of us who are going to stand up against this president's desire to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security.
So were you saying?
Well, maybe Al Green's constituents are afraid of cuts to Medicaid because he's spreading lies about Trump cutting Medicaid. But Democrats got a Democrat.
Literally, friends, I had my coat, my cane, and I was about to make my exit because I really didn't want to sit through what I knew the president would do.
Mm-hmm. So Trump wasn't even into the 3rd minute of his address, and Green couldn't take it anymore. What a baby.
So as I was about to make my exit, he made this statement about his mandate. And I said to him, you have no mandate to cut Medicaid. And by the way, I didn't come to say that. Mm-hmm. I did not. It was spontaneity. It was just something.
Spirit movie.
Yes. So I said it.
So if he didn't plan it in advance, it means that he's just a whiny loser who can't control his emotions, like the majority of Democrats. Anyway, 2 days later, the House voted to censure Congressman Green.
By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
If you're singing, you're losing. Also, overcome what exactly? Now look, I wasn't going to make a video about any of this until Congressman Green went on a publicity tour receiving a hero's welcome in the process.
You know, you caused some good trouble the other night when you stood up and spoke out.
He did not obey. We begin today's show with Democratic Congressmember Al Green of Texas. Thank you for joining us. Why did you interrupt President Trump's speech?
President Trump indicated that he had a mandate, and I wanted to let him know that he didn't have a mandate.
Some people are saying your freedom of speech was denied during this session.
Congressman Green knew he would face repercussions for taking a stand during the joint address, and that's not surprising. He has been fighting for civil rights for quite some time now.
I believe that we have to move forward with righteous incivility.
Translation? It's okay when Democrats are uncivil because they claim that they're on the right side of history or whatever. Next, Congressman Green made an appearance on CNN. Frederica Whitfield tried to compare what Green did with past incidents of so-called disruptions.
You saw Congressman Joe Wilson, who, yelled, you lie. You had Justice Alito with his expression saying not true, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Of course, Frederica Whitfield only gave examples of so-called disruptions perpetrated by Republicans. But let's take a closer look and see if any of those incidents were remotely the same as Al Green's disruption. First, there's Representative Joe Wilson, who yelled out during President Obama's address to Congress in September 2009.
There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This too is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
Congressman Wilson quickly apologized to President Obama, who in turn accepted Wilson's apology. But that wasn't good enough for House Democrats, who insisted that Wilson issue a formal apology on the House floor. When Wilson refused, the House approved a resolution of disapproval by a vote of 240 to 179. This is what Democrats are doing instead of codifying Roe v. Wade into law. Sad, really. The next incident occurred during President Obama's State of the Union address in 2010, where it appears that Justice Samuel Alito mouthed the words "not true" during the following statement by Obama.
With all due deference to separation of powers, last week the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
So not only did Obama call out the Supreme Court to their faces, but what he claimed the Supreme Court did was bull. Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Linda Greenhouse wrote the following in the New York Times. Justice Alito shook his head as if to rebut the president's characterization of the Citizens United decision and seemed to mouth the words, "not true." Indeed, Mr. Obama's description of the holding of the case was imprecise. He said the court had reversed a century of law. The law that Congress enacted in the populist days of the early 20th century prohibited direct corporate contributions to political campaigns. That law was not at issue in the Citizens United case and is still on the books. In other words, Obama lied. But regardless, someone mouthing words on the House floor during a presidential address is not punishable. Otherwise, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib would be in federal prison because she did this for the entirety of Trump's address. It's so weird that Frederica Whitfield wouldn't point out Rashida Tlaib's antics. I know you're shocked. Anyway, the final example was during Joe Biden's final State of the Union when Marjorie Taylor Greene called out Laken Riley's name while Biden was claiming that Republicans didn't care about border security.
But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels a political win. He viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley.
Of course, her name is not Lincoln, it's Laken. It was even on the button he was holding in his hand.
An innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals?
So Joe Biden's response was admitting that, yes, an illegal killed a woman, but then he tried to flip it around, saying that legals kill people too. What a scumbag. Days later, Biden would be forced to apologize for using the term illegal to describe a murderer.
You use the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. What I won't do, I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country.
And that's why the Democrats lost in 2024. So CNN's Frederica Whitfield showed a bunch of Republicans disrupting things and then made the following misleading statement.
None of them were censured nor escorted out.
I mean, sure, none of them were censured, but Joe Wilson was still reprimanded in a similar fashion via a House resolution. Wilson was in fact punished, but Whitfield didn't mention it, to give the impression that Al Green was somehow singled out.
Is this a reflection of the climate that we are in right now? What is the difference here of how, what your experience was versus theirs?
Quite candidly, it is a double standard.
No, the difference is that Al Green interrupted Trump's address no more than 5 times and was only removed after being warned by the Speaker of the House 3 times. Now, look, most Democrats have not come out to defend Al Green's embarrassing disruption. Only the stupid ones did, including Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas.
As we sat there, one of the things that no one is talking about is that Marjorie Taylor Greene was not, she was violating House rules as well. We are not allowed to wear any hats whatsoever, no matter what. Yet she sat there on that same day and she was wearing a hat. She was wearing a MAGA hat, and that was out of decorum. And no one said anything to her.
Well, the hypocrisy abounds.
No, there is no hypocrisy here because there is no House rule that prohibits hats. But Jasmine Crockett's ignorance knows no bounds.
So they are always focused on crime. They continue to say things like the illegals and that they broke the law coming in. But what they're not telling the American people is that it is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally.
So according to federal lawmaker Jasmine Crockett, it's not a crime to enter the United States illegally. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? However, crossing the border illegally is a crime. It's a federal misdemeanor in violation of 8 U.S.C. 1325. A federal misdemeanor, by the way, is literally a criminal offense.
It's not a criminal, it's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations.
Before Jasmine Crockett became a member of Congress, she was an ambulance-chasing lawyer. So it kind of explains things, right? Anyway, back to Congressman Al Green, also from the Lone Star State. Seriously, you can't do better in this, Texas? Anyway, you will not be surprised as to why Al Green believes that he was censured.
A good many of us don't realize it. There is still invidious discrimination. There is invidious discrimination in the House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, there is invidious discrimination. People can see it, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh, I see. Al Green is the victim.
I'm a son of the segregated South. The rights that the Constitution recognized for me, my friends and neighbors denied. I had to sit in the back of the bus, the balcony of the movie, drink from a colored water fountain.
A, those Jim Crow laws were enacted by Democrats. And B, wasn't that like 60, 70 years ago?
I know what invidious discrimination looks like. The Klan burned a cross in my yard.
That's right. He's comparing the House of Representatives with the KKK.
Like, I've been called all kinds of ugly names. So I know invidious discrimination. And when the speaker decided that I would be removed, and then there was this motion, this resolution to censure me, it became obvious to me that I was not being treated as others were. Mm-hmm. And candidly speaking, it is invidious discrimination, harmful discrimination.
The fact that Green claims that he was censured because racism is not only predictable, but shows that he can't and won't accept responsibility for any of his actions. Typical Democrat.
When I left, I went home and I saw the rest of the event on television.
Hang on, Green said earlier, quote, "I really didn't want to sit through what I knew the president would do." But then he ran home and watched Trump on TV? Yeah, sure, okay.
And I saw him point to the Democrats and say, these people are lunatics. He called the Democratic members of Congress lunatics. Now that is incivility. He will not be punished for that.
In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me.
So not the way Al Green claims that it went down. I know. But keep in mind that thanks to Trump derangement syndrome, the Democrats wouldn't even stand and applaud a 13-year-old child who beat brain cancer. Instead, they all sat there protesting with their whittle paddles, looking like f***ing lunatics. Anyway, that's it for now. Please follow me on X at Don't Walk Run. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you next time, if there is a next time.